Hello everybody, how are we all doing today? I am just going to check I'm live in the right place and also tag a couple of people who ask me to tag them. I sometimes just come live in here and do a training video without any kind of planning, but I've had a couple of questions recently about supplements, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to plan this out. So if I ever advertise going to go live on a certain topic and you're interested in me tagging you, then let me know and I can tag you in it so that you don't miss out. Because obviously I'm going live at a certain time. This is available on a replay for 30 days, and then you can catch it whenever you can, really. Okay, let me find out where I am. And it was Rachel. Not there. It was Rachel who said she would like to have a watch, so I will tag her. There we go, brilliant. So Rachel Watt. And if you've got any questions on supplements, then please do let us know, because we can get these answered for you. Even if it's after the live, I'm happy to answer them for you. If it's a bit more personal, feel free to drop me a message, and I can do a bit of a voice note for you if it's a little bit more personal, if you want to do it a little bit more private. Alright, I've tagged those two ladies. You know what, I might as well tag everybody else as well, but I wanted those two to make sure that they're getting those tags as they specifically asked for them. So today we are going to be talking about supplements, whether you should be taking supplements or not, whether you need them for strength training, whether you need it for energy, motivation, all that good stuff. I am a very balanced person in terms of my opinion when it comes to supplementation. So I will give you the rundown in terms of what you should be doing from a supplementation perspective, based on knowledge from my own experience, knowledge from my own qualifications, and knowledge from some very, very knowledgeable people who are in my network, who are dietitians and nutritional therapists. So I just wanted to talk on why, where my background is and that kind of thing. And that leads me into the first point. So I've got my notes here because I didn't want to miss out on anything. So leads me on to my first point, which is who to trust and take nutrition advice from, because this is a big one, you know. I personally wouldn't be trusting the average kind of fit influencer off Instagram who's selling you random supplements or random diets, that kind of thing. In terms of qualifications, in terms of getting into trouble, essentially, ideally you should have a form of dietitian qualification, i.e. a degree, to be able to give individualized advice, which is like meal plans, individual to your medical conditions, that kind of thing. You can take a step down, and this is where my background and experience comes in, is that you can take nutrition advice from certain personal trainers. So I am a qualified personal trainer, but my qualification comes from the United Kingdom, and as part of the UK qualification we do nutrition as part of that. So we're able to give basic nutrition advice to people, and as I say, this is basic. It's very much healthy, living a healthy, balanced lifestyle in terms of your nutrition. Other personal trainers, I know for a fact in New Zealand, they do not have a nutrition element to their personal training qualification, so I would not take advice from them. Generally, if they're giving smart, healthy eating advice, then that's okay, but they shouldn't really be giving anything more than that. There are nutritional therapists out there who I would say take advice from those who have probably done a degree, because they've done a lot more in-depth study, and you can get a nutrition qualification off the internet for like $50, which is obviously not going to give you that individualized support that you need, and it could cause damage to you as well. So I would say steer away from those people. I have an additional qualification, which is an advanced trainer qualification, and also exercise referral qualification, which means I can work with GP referred people. Again, it's very top line, but this adds on the supplement side of things for giving advice on the basic supplementation into your diet. Again, what I'm going to give you advice on in this video is a generalized advice. So this is generalized advice that works for the general population. If you have certain medical conditions, you have certain symptoms going, you've tried something that I am putting out there as general population advice and it hasn't worked for you, it's caused issues in terms of symptoms, then don't listen to what I'm saying. Listen to someone who's the next level up. Get that advice from a dietitian, a registered nutritional therapist, or head to your GP who would refer you into those types of people. So if you are struggling from a nutrition perspective and you feel like you need individualized advice because of symptoms, medical conditions, that kind of thing, reach out to me because I can refer you on to a trusted registered dietitian. So that's my spiel. I just want to make sure that you guys aren't taking nutritional advice from people who aren't qualified because it might damage your health. And this is more specific to people advising certain diets on the internet, advising certain supplements, and that if you take this green powder, you're going to lose 50 kg in a day, kind of thing. We don't want to do that. So, where do we start with supplementation? So, what it should be is hey Liz, what it should be is a supplement to your diet. So to start off with, any decent health and fitness professional will say that you need to try and get as much of your nutrients from your diet, and this is the food that you're putting into your body. And let's face it, the food that you're putting into your body to get the great nutrients from it is going to be from your whole food. So we're thinking your vegetables, your fruits, your legumes, your meats, your eggs, dairy products going to there if you don't have any dairy intolerance. Gluten isn't a bad thing, so having your grains are not a bad thing. Don't cut them out of your diet if you aren't intolerant to them or they don't upset you. But from a whole food diet, so we're thinking about things that have one ingredient. So I've literally just eaten an apple myself that has one ingredient, it's an apple, or limited ingredients. So if you look on the back of a pasta packet, for example, you can look at 2 different pasta packets and one might have 2 ingredients in and one might have 10 ingredients in, and focus on the ingredients, focus on the processed food that have the least amount of ingredients in. Essentially is the rule of thumb. Obviously there'll be some that don't sit quite within that rule, but that's where you want to try and get as much of your supplements from as possible, is from your actual food, not your supplements, get your nutrients from your actual food. I do not have an issue with supplementation. I personally supplement my own diet, but this is based on me as an individual, and this is where I would encourage you to assess your own nutrition. So first and foremost, let's talk about protein, because this is one of the questions that comes up quite a lot. Are you getting enough protein into your diet? And I would always say try and get a protein source into your every single meal that you're eating, and potentially a protein source into a snack as well. So you could have 3 meals a day with protein source and then a snack. But some people really struggle with this. I am not really one of those people. I do eat meat, I eat animal-based products, so I don't struggle with getting my protein in. I do supplement from time to time, but usually when I'm being a little bit lazy with my food. But I wouldn't say that I have a protein powder or a protein supplement every single day. It's maybe once or twice a week. Whereas some people really do struggle with getting that protein into their diet, especially women, and obviously we're in a female-only group here, so I understand that. A lot of people struggle with breakfast, and advice across many trusted sources says that you ideally should start your day with some form of protein. And people are like, oh, but I don't want to eat eggs, I don't want to eat meat for breakfast, or maybe you can't eat a Greek yogurt because you've got a dairy intolerance, or you might be vegan, or whatever it might be. What you can do is literally get a unflavored protein powder and put it into a coffee, and straight away in the morning you're having your coffee, which most people do. Obviously starting your day off with caffeine isn't ideal, but hey, whatever, a lot of people do it. And you can put an unflavored protein in there, and usually that unflavored protein will have around about 20 grams of protein, if not a little bit higher, and you're starting your day off really well, getting that protein in straight away. So I am not against supplementing protein, but I would say try and get some protein in from actual food rather than having a protein shake for every single meal, for example. Protein shake wise, there's so much on the market right now. It's actually really good in terms of how much is available. In my opinion, what I would say is try and choose a protein powder or a protein juice that has limited sugar in, because you don't need to be adding more refined sugar into your diet. Again, reducing the amount of ingredients, so as little ingredients as possible is ideal. And then assess what type of protein you want. So there's lots of different types. The top three are generally whey protein, which has been on the market for years and years. And if we're thinking about bodybuilders, that's generally what they were taking years ago, is the whey protein. With the rise of plant-based diets, there's a lot of plant-based protein out there. And I personally focus more on the plant-based protein, not because I'm plant-based, but because the whey protein upsets my tummy a little bit. So plant-based stuff, pretty good, but usually it is missing some vital nutrients, which I'll go on to in a bit. Or we've got things like collagen, which is like a bovine kind of protein, so that is animal-based as well, which I have had before and I actually got great results from, and I've just found a really good company in New Zealand who sells some awesome bovine protein, which is the collagen side of things. So I'm pretty excited to try that, and hopefully that will help me just top up my protein on the days where I'm feeling a little bit lazy. And on the laziness, you can add your protein to a lot of things. So I'll add it to oats, and I'll make some high protein porridge. I can add it to like a smoothie, so you can get it in lots of different ways. Assessing your nutrition. So going back to that, are you getting enough veggies and fruit into your diet? So some people don't like it. I personally, again, I don't struggle with my veggies or fruit. I love it. The general advice is trying to get over 30 different types of fruit and veggies into your diet across the week. And this is easier than you think. You might be like, whoa, that is quite a lot, but it's not actually that much, because it does include your seasonings. So if you're having like paprika, pepper, that kind of thing, that's included into your like different types. The reason for that is just because we want a varied and balanced healthy diet. But if you're struggling with getting enough of those nutrients in, there are other supplements which are like greens or reds. Again, I would try and find a reputable company in your area, the country that you're in. I personally would recommend ones like My Protein, bulk powders, BPN. The bigger ones generally are quite safe. Just if you do need to have that bit of a boost from your diet. The next thing that I want to think about is what you to think about is how you're actually feeling. So this is going to be a really good assessment in terms of whether you need to supplement. So we've got obviously our protein. If you aren't getting enough protein in, i.e. you're getting it with every meal, you need to assess that, and then your veggies as well. But I also want you to think about, do you have any symptoms? And this is where I always encourage people to think about how you're feeling as an individual. I can't tell you what you should be taking if I don't know how you're feeling. Doctors can't tell you, dietitians can't tell you. You personally need to start assessing your body in terms of how you're feeling. And this goes with a lot of things. It can go with the type of exercise that you choose to do. It can go with how much rest you need to take, whether you need to manage your stress, that kind of thing. But I would say have a think about your symptoms. So do you have symptoms like tiredness or fatigue? And I'm going to talk about my personal experience very, very recently on that in a second. Do you have pain, so joint pain, that kind of thing? Do you have bowel issues? So are you regular? Or are you too regular? Or are you not regular at all? So are you constipated, or do you run a little bit too quick? If your bowels are moving too quickly or too slowly, that could be a sign that you are deficient in some form of nutrients, potentially. It could be other medical conditions as well, though. But what I would recommend is if you do have any symptoms that are kind of chronic, that long standing, then you potentially need to go and get a blood test. And this is something that I can't do. But again, nutritionists and registered dietitians will be able to read your blood tests and have an assessment of whether you do need to supplement or not into your diet in terms of certain things. So let's talk about a story. Let's use me as a case study. So the last few months I've been feeling a bit crap. I do have an underactive thyroid and Hashimoto's, so that naturally can have an effect on my life because it's an autoimmune condition and it does slow things down in my body. And I've noticed things had been slowing down a little bit. My periods were getting heavier and more painful. My fatigue was ridiculous. I was napping all the time. I was having like 10 to 14 days of PMS symptoms, which is not ideal. No one wants that. My doctor actually reached out and said, hey, we need to do a medication review because I'm on medication kind of for life for my thyroid. And I was like, cool, this is a good opportunity to have a chat with my GP, which I do not encourage you to do waiting for your GP to reach out to you. I encourage you, if you've got any of these symptoms, go and speak to your GP or another health professional who can take your bloods and advise you on dietary stuff before waiting. But I was not leading by example in that respect. So I went, got my blood tests, and it turns out that my thyroid levels were too high, so I needed the meds to bring them back down. My iron was a little bit on the low side, and my B12 was a little bit on the low side. And this links into this is obviously something that I needed to supplement. So I am now on higher meds, but I'm also supplementing on B12 and ferritin to push my iron levels up, which will hopefully get rid of some of the symptoms I've got and also help my periods and also help the fatigue, which is the main thing that I was struggling with. But on the B12 and ferritin perspective, if you are plant-based or you don't get enough animal protein into your diet, I would recommend that you go and see your doctor, get a blood test and find out where your levels are from a B12 and ferritin perspective, or your iron levels. They potentially are a bit low, and then this means you can supplement. You can buy B12 in pharmacies usually across the world, so wherever you are you can usually buy B12, and the general advice is if you are predominantly plant-based that you can supplement B12 fairly safely into your diet on a regular basis. Ferritin, iron is a bit different, so this is where you would take advice from someone who is a medical professional, so your GP or a dietitian or a registered nutritional therapist. So that's that side of things, but that's something that I would really recommend that you guys do. Another supplement that can be a bit lacking in a lot of people is vitamin D. So I would definitely recommend that if you are in a country where there's not too much sun or you don't go out in the sun too much, take a daily vitamin D supplement. The general advice on vitamin D and also vitamin C as well, which is obviously a different thing, is that those two supplements you can pick up from a supermarket. It doesn't matter what brand you get, you can get the cheapest one and it'll do its job. On that point, because that was a question from Amanda, was about can you just pick up supplements from the supermarket, for example. So vitamin D and vitamin C, yes. The rest of the supplements, what the advice is that you should be going for a reputable and brand that is going to actually help you. So I can use magnesium, for example, which I'll talk on in a little bit in a second again. But magnesium comes in many different forms, and the cheapest magnesium that you can find in supermarkets, you will generally find the one that won't really help you out with your symptoms, and it is the cheapest form, which can actually upset tummies. So it's better doing a bit of research on that and finding out which supplement is going to be right for you. Magnesium is another supplement that a lot of women take because we often lack in it, same with zinc as well. But as I say with magnesium, if you are thinking that you need it, it's really good for women's health in terms of women hormones. I would, and sleep as well, I would recommend that you go onto the Healthline. That's a really good website, generally pretty good from a peer review perspective, and do a bit of research onto different magnesiums and find out what you're lacking in and picking the magnesium type that is more suited to you. If you're a bit confused and you're not sure and you would like some advice, then reach out to me, and I can refer you through to that dietitian that I trust, who will help you out. Okay, finally, creatine. So creatine is doing its rounds a lot. If you are a gym goer, I would recommend that, and you're doing weight training, you're doing strength training, you're picking up some weights, I would recommend that you do take creatine. Creatine is one of the most well-researched supplements out there. What creatine does, it actually helps you get stronger, quicker essentially. So a lot of people who go to the gym are happy about taking creatine. There's a lot of research out there that it helps with brain clarity, so it helps with focus, and there's a lot of research coming out now that creatine actually can help with reducing the likelihood of getting dementia and Alzheimer's, which is obviously a really great thing to be thinking about. If you start taking creatine, this is kind of a thing that you would just continue to take continually. Some of the creatine supplements will say on the back that you will need to preload, so you can take a little bit more at the start. But if you're not, well, actually, you don't need to. I was about to say, if you're like a bodybuilder or you are a powerlifter, that kind of thing, you can front load your creatine. But generally, just start with the normal dose and it'll go up. So I would advise, I'm a big lover of creatine. I went through a stage of taking creatine for about 6 months last year, and I saw really great results in terms of my strength and my recovery. But one thing I will say with creatine is if you are struggling from a kidney perspective, then it's not advised that you take creatine because it can affect those who already have kidney issues, if that makes sense. I think I've managed to cover a lot of the questions. One of the questions was about anything good for gut health. So gut health is a lot to do with getting as many fruits and vegetables into your diet. That really helps because it helps feed the friendly bacteria into your diet. We want to focus on the prebiotics and the probiotics. I used to take one, and I can't think what it was called, Optibac. I used to take one called Optibac, and that again is well trusted and by a lot of people. But you can have it in your real diet. So anything that's fermented will help. So kind of fermented dairy products, or I'm a big fan of sauerkraut and kimchi, which is like kind of fermented cabbage. So you can just add that into your diet. I would definitely focus on that. If you're struggling from a gut health perspective, then potentially speak to a nutritional therapist or a dietitian to see what's going on there. If you're bloated, there might be some form of food that is causing some issues for you. I personally find if I go onto kind of a whole food diet, a lot of my gut health issues disappear, and the belly starts disappearing because I'm just being healthier and I've reduced my inflammation across my whole body. Energy wise, we've talked a lot about energy, so a lot of the energy perspective, we need to make sure you're eating enough, but a lot of the supplements, so your protein will help with your energy, getting enough veggies in, vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, magnesium, B12, ferritin, all that helps with your energy levels. So go back to what I've said if you need to recap on things and go, right, okay, this is where I might be missing things. And then motivation. I suppose motivation doesn't really exist. This is a separate question to nutrition, really. Motivation doesn't really exist. You have to create your own motivation by taking action. is a big thing that I believe in. But I'm also a big believer in taking small steps when it comes to taking action, rather than jumping in at the deep end and burning yourself out, which can not help with the energy perspective. So, and a bit of advice from myself is to start slow. So, for example, if you don't get enough veggies in, you're not eating enough veggies in every single meal, then maybe decide to have one type of vegetable with every meal to start off with and then build upon it, or up your protein and then build upon it. It's all about starting slow and just making tweaks to your diet, and that's what we do in Scrap the Scales. So that's my online membership where I support people through their nutrition and tweaking their diet, as well as getting people exercising in a way that works for them, as well as switching up their mindset with lots of hypnotherapy sessions as well. But what I would say is, with motivation, just take some steps, just get going, small things at a time. Motivation can be added to from an accountability perspective, so Scrap the Skills might be really well suited to you because I hold you account, but there's like nice tick box things that you need to do on a daily basis that are pretty easy to do, and then you get that kind of buzz from ticking off your list, which a lot of people do. These things that are on the list aren't hard to do, so that dopamine hit that us humans love by ticking things off, but by ticking those things off, you're improving your health, you're making progress towards getting towards your goals. It's always very slow and steady with my approach with people, unless they work one-to-one with me, and then we can do a bit of a big deep dive into what your personal goals are. But generally the people who work one-to-one with me have more specific goals. So this could be running goals, it could be they've got a certain event, they have a wedding that they want to go to and look their best for, and it's like a set time scale. Whereas the majority of people who want to work with me and Scrap the Skills are people who are wanting to just improve their life in terms of their health, just in a general perspective, and just live a healthy, long and happy life. And that's what Scrap the Skills will do for you. It'll create very nice sustainable habits that are easy to implement into your life. Good news for you guys is that if you do want to try Scrap the Skills, it's only $4 for your first month, so that's $4 US. I know there's people in lots of different countries that use the currency dollar, so US dollars, $4 for your first month. Definitely recommend that you come along and give it a go. I'll drop the link to it in the comments. Apologies, it's not there. Apologies if you are commenting. I can't see them, which is kind of standard for Facebook. I'm just finding my link. There we go. Oh, that's not the one I want. That's not. I'll find it in a second anyway, and I'll post it below because that is awesome. It's an awesome place to be, so I definitely recommend doing that. Let me just see if I can find any questions, any comments. Trina's there. So Trina's in Scrap the Skills, and she's commenting. I can't see everyone's comments, which is a little bit annoying, but she says, totally do it, $4 a steal. Scrap the Skills helps so much with accountability. Does creatine have any side effects as a supplement? And that's another one when you asked me on vitamin D. Yeah, so creatine has limited side effects. Obviously, I can't say that it doesn't have any side effects, but as I say, it's the most well-researched and safe supplement to take. So I personally would recommend it. If you have had your kidney levels looked at in your blood test recently and they were completely fine, or previously they've been completely fine, you will be completely fine. I personally have low functioning kidney at the moment for whatever reason. Doctor doesn't seem too concerned about that, but I personally am not going to take creatine because of that, because I don't want it to impact my kidneys any further. But if you have completely fine kidney function, it won't affect your kidneys, it won't make your kidney function go below. It potentially has an impact on those who already have kidneys that are a little bit slow. So please take creatine if you want to give it a go. It does take a little while to kick in, but you can get unflavoured creatine, add it to water, really easy to drink, and also it's getting your water levels up as well, which is also good. But yeah, come along to Scrap the Skills, come and join Trina. I didn't realise you were there, so it's awesome to see you. I can see that there's more comments, but it's only showing me 4 of them, so apologies for that. Nothing's coming up on my live dashboard, which is annoying. But I'm going to jump off now because this has been almost 30 minutes of me chatting away. I'd love you to absorb how you're feeling from your general kind of demeanor, so your energy levels, and yeah, just motivation and everything physically, how you're feeling. And maybe it might encourage you to go to your GP, get some blood work done, or if you're feeling like you do need that accountability, support, motivation to get you going, come and join Scrap the Skills. All right, I'm going to speak to you all very soon. I hope you all have wonderful weeks, and cheerio. Bye.